Coach, I know it's been a long day at the ballpark, but Evan Siegfried had a career day today. Maybe just kind of take us through how you managed him today and the decision to leave him in there, and he comes through for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a special outing. He works so hard. He's probably our hardest worker. And I didn't even realize he had 15 strikeouts until somebody told me there in the dugout. But he had all 4 pitches working, commanded all 4 pitches. I think he had strikeouts on all 4 pitches, a lot on the fastball, several on the curveball. He got one on the change to the pinch hitter, I think, in the 7th. And then, really, it was his game. I wasn't taking him out. I was just checking his pulse and give him a chance to take a breather. But I knew how the crowd would react to that, and I felt like that got him over the hump and through the 8th.
Robbie?
You look at Evan since he's been here, and he's always been kind of business, and nothing really seems to knock him off or anything like that. And today he kind of just had a different look to him. Did you see that pregame from him that you felt like this could be an outing, maybe not 8 innings scoreless, but did you feel like this could be pretty special for him today?
I've seen it a little bit coming on every week. I think historically he's struggled to put hitters away. He's one of the best strike throwers in the league. It's been getting to the finish line in the past, striking guys out essentially, and he's done that a little bit better and better every week. He's finding new weapons. The curveball's been a big key for him. Tonight the fastball elevated was a big key. I think every week he's growing as both as a competitor and as a guy in this role it's a very tough matchup on an opposing offense when he can throw 4 pitches for strikes and work up, down in East and West as well.
Ben?
Hate to bring the mood down, but the first game seemed like Pico was catching a little bit too much of the plate with some of those balls that they hit out. What did you see out of him, and how can he sort of tweak some things to get back to the form that we know he can find?
Yeah, I thought his delivery was a little bit sideways today. I think tonight, honestly, and I told him this, so I can share it with you guys. I thought he looked like the Pico of old a little bit, and I think some of that is, he's starting on short rest. Some of it was certainly elevated pitches. I think the first 3 homers were all on sliders, and they did a good job. That's the way their offense is built. It's a lot of physical, older guys that have big time power. The first one coming, down the right field line. The second one coming right down the left field line, and then they hit a couple in the middle of the field. But he didn't have his best stuff. He competed like always. I think just having a good work week of getting his delivery back, kind of in order and maybe catching his breath a little bit. We've ridden him to a point where he's been our ace start to finish here. So nothing will change. It's just about a matter of having a good work week.
Sam?
With Evan Siegfried, ever since he became the starter, it seems like now he's gradually starting to go longer into games a little bit more. Is there anything in particular you've been working on with him since he became the starter to allow him to go longer into games?
Well, everything just organically about filling that role, and each week, just gauging the pulse of how he feels, and you can kind of see in this stuff. You could tell this week, or I guess this week, about an hour ago, he started to look a little bit more fatigued in the 8th. Okay, a month ago, you started to see that in the 4th. So it's just been a process. He's so routine driven. He does everything right. His lifestyle, his habits, all of it are really good. And so, after coming off of the hip injury, he's slowly building himself back from a physical standpoint.
Doug?
Coach had the biggest and the loudest crowd of the season. It's a rival game, but it felt like the crowd kind of tried to pick you up and lift you up late in the game. What kind of role did they play in?
It's unbelievable. Even after the first game, you lose to your rival, you don't play your best. I'm sitting down there walking to get Evan Siegfried loose, and I'm looking over the left field line. I'm looking. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's one of one as far as ballparks and environments, and our fans are incredible. They lifted us all day. It just was unbelievable.
Hey, Dad, you said you knew when you were going out to talk to Sierra you weren't going to pull him. I assume he didn't know that. What did you tell him when you got out there?
I said, this is your game. There's nobody that works harder. There's nobody that deserves it more. We're winning or losing with you tonight.
Steve? Along those lines, too, defensively, it feels like the guys really kind of stood up behind him, especially in that situation. Sawyer runs that ball down. It's like it's destined for a single.
Yeah.
What did you see from the defense tonight, and how pleased were you with their performance?
Yeah, well, we've talked about it a lot lately, like closing games out for me, it's a team effort. You know, you get into win mode late, and you got 9 outs, you got 6 outs, you start counting down outs. It's everyone's responsibility to turn up the dial and shrink the field. And guys are starting to take, not that they weren't before, but they're really taking pride in that. And that's kind of what I saw tonight.
It's like a couple more, Robbie.
When you look at Game 3 coming up, I mean, obviously you have a day off tomorrow. Looks like you'll be pretty unscathed from a bullpen standpoint. What's your thoughts on what you got coming into Sunday, and what's the plan for tomorrow for your guys?
Well, the plan first is figure out when that Game 3 is going to be, whether it's tomorrow or Sunday or what that looks like. I'm not sure where we left it there. We are fairly fresh. I probably even, depending on when that game is, would even have Ben Davis back. But, matchups, I trust a lot of those guys. We talked about the bullpen last week. They should all be fresh. We had the midweek off, so just regroup. I'll probably watch the tape again first thing tomorrow morning, see if there's anything that showed up on the tape, as far as getting to guys' holes and matching up a little bit better, and then we'll be all hands on deck for Game 3.
Last question, Rob.
Speaking of Ben, I don't know if you have defined roles or not, but it seems like Luke's kind of been your guy that's closed out these closer games.
Yeah.
What do you see right there? Do you feel like Ben was the right guy for that spot?
Well, it just was Fowley. It was about Fowley leading off. I'd kind of earmarked Ben to be first out, not knowing that I was going to get 8 scoreless. But then the matchup became right, left, right there at the end, where Fowley and Udermark, I wanted the right-handed slider.